Thanks for tuning in to Unbreakable with Chris Chamasiros. I talk about politics, sports, and entertainment to keep you well-rounded, what's going on around the world. If you don't like hearing the truth, definitely don't tune into this channel. So let's get started today. Oh, excuse me. I got my phone going. It was definitely a wild weekend, sports-wise, entertainment, politics. It was a wild weekend. You know, Netanyahu goes on 60 Minutes. It was a total disaster. President Trump is giving interviews saying he doesn't care about the American people and how they're suffering with prices and at the gas pump. Nick Fuentes is having an issue with Dan BLIZERIAN. We're going to get into that. Strickland, great fight between him and CHIMAEV. I'm probably pronouncing the name wrong. You got to excuse me. CHAMZAT, I should say. We're going to get into Chud the Builder also. I'm going to address that. We got to talk about it. Certain things we got to address, and we are going to address them. So first things first, let's see what Benjamin Netanyahu had to say during his 60 Minutes interview. You know, this man, when I watch this, he just clearly doesn't get it. He just clearly doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. You know, he's blaming, Netanyahu is sitting on 60 Minutes and he's blaming social media for all the negative criticism of Israel and his government. He's blaming social media. It's social media's fault. It's anti-Semitism. You ever think it's your behavior? Do you ever think it's maybe the multiple genocides that you're committing at once? Do you ever think the American populace is mad that we're paying for your wars, your health care, your border, your Iron Dome, the endless and billions and trillions of dollars of aid that we give to you? We're tired. We've had it. That ever cross your mind? So he sits there and he blames social media. It's just, this man clearly doesn't get it. And you know what else he doesn't get? He doesn't understand that he's not in control. But the sad thing about it is he is in control because he owns President Trump. And we all know that. We all know that. There's a lot of things that are making Americans pissed off with Israel besides that. I mean, maybe he could talk to his Jewish producer friends in Hollywood, how every single movie, every single TV show, they want to make the white man in the show, they want to make him gay, the butt of all the jokes, a complete joke in general. You know, if they do a family show and there's a white dad, they make him fat, they make him out of shape, they make it so nobody respects him. They just totally clown him. And if people are noticing it, and people are fed up, and we're fed up, and we have every right to be fed up. It's just everything that you do, everything that you say, people are noticing, and people are getting very, very tired. I've been noticing, you know, the Hollywood issue and the movie issue and that for a very, very long time. And I mean, how many movies can you make about the evil? Like every week, there's a movie about the evil white man oppressing everybody every day of the week. And we all know who runs Hollywood. And you don't think that people get tired of that? You don't think that people understand where that's coming from? We're not all stupid. We're not all going to fall for it and be like, you know what? I'm going to hate my grandfather now. I'm going to hate myself and I'm going to hate my own skin color. It's just ridiculous. It's like, you go right down the row and everything that Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel and the Israeli donors do to Americans and American citizens, none of it's positive. Charlie Kirk, right before he died, this was his exact words. My big Jewish donors have a lot of explaining to do. They're putting all their money behind open borders. You think that the American populace isn't figuring this out, what's going on? And, you know, you're always talking about the Bible and God. You don't think that God sees your lies? You don't think that God sees what you're doing? I'm not going to get into my Charlie Kirk thoughts. You know, you already know what I think. It just seems like ever since Charlie Kirk's life was taken, it's all been downhill for Trump and Israel and Netanyahu. I wonder why. What's the old saying? God doesn't like ugly. You always hear, you always hear that old saying. Doesn't get any uglier what they did to Charlie Kirk. But hey, Netanyahu, let's blame social media for Israel's negative image. Let's blame social media. For the first video I'm going to go to, and it's just a complete lie. Netanyahu wants to phase out U.S. military aid. Yeah, sure you do, pal. Sure you do. He just asked for a 20-year deal. He just asked for a 20-year deal worth billions upon billions of dollars. All he's trying to do is trying to fix Israel's image, and guess what? It's not going to work. It's the curtain is pulled so far back at this point, and you've lost the entire narrative, and you know that your old tricks aren't working. Controlling the media, controlling the narrative, you know it's totally out of hand. For Netanyahu to go on 60 Minutes, you know it's just totally out of hand. And you can see, I don't want to hear that it has nothing to do with it. He's sick. This ghoul, he knows it's up. He knows the game is over. He knows the American populace has had it. We gave you a place of refuge to come, live, and this is the thanks that we get. This is the thanks that we get. It's a lot of things adding up. It's a ton of things adding up that Netanyahu and all his buddies, they think that we're all dumb and that we can't put this all together. Don't they have a playbook? We need to make the Caucasian goyim feel defeated and make them just feel like it's completely over. There's a playbook. One of their inner circle talks about the playbook. It's an actual playbook that they want you to feel they want the American goyim to feel defeated. So they beat you down with debt. They beat you down with these movies. They beat you down with music. It's psychological also. It's not just money. It's in politics. It's psychological messaging in the TV shows that you watch, in the movies that you watch. And people are figuring it out. And you're creating an enemy. You're creating people that are really tired of you. So let's jump into this video first.
Penny for your thoughts.
You think I could?
Do you believe it's time for the state of Israel to re-examine and possibly reset its financial relationship to the United States, meaning what the United States provides to Israel on an annual basis?
Absolutely. And I've said this to President.
You see the smirk? You see his smirk? Whenever he talks, he's lying. He's just a piece of garbage. This ghoul is a piece of garbage.
Trump, I've said it to our own people. Their jaws drop. But
Yeah,
I said,
sure,
look,
sure.
Well, what do you mean? What are you saying?
I want to draw down to zero the American financial support, the financial component of the military cooperation that we have, because we receive.
See, he said the military cooperation that he receives. He didn't say all of it, meaning the American taxpayer. Again, everybody in Israel gets free healthcare and the American taxpayer pays for it. Free college. They have a border. We don't. We pay for the border. We pay for the Iron Dome. We pay for them to have children. But he's not mentioning the aid from the taxpayer. He's only mentioning the military. See, I would call his bluff immediately and be like, you're done. It's over. Militarily, and everything else we give you. So I'm going to call your bluff. He knows listen, this whole interview is a complete lie. He's just trying to save his image. He's trying to save Israel's image. And, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work.
$3.8 billion a year. And I think that it's time that we weaned ourselves from the military support.
Can you give me a timetable?
I said, let's start now and do it over the next decade, over the next 10 years. But I want to start now.
Over the next 10 years. So you know what? Over the next 10 years, a country like America that's trillions of dollars in debt is going to hand Israel billions upon billions of dollars in aid. Let that sink in. We're trillions of dollars in debt, and he wants it to take, Netanyahu wants it to take 10 years to wean himself off of the American taxpayers' money as they collect billions for the next 10 years. A country that is the size of New Jersey. No, we can start right now. We should start right now. Remove our military, remove the funding. You know what, Benjamin Netanyahu? Every time I see you on TV, you arrogantly say, we don't need America's money. Israel can fight its own battles. We don't need your military. Those are his words, not mine. It's time to call his bluff.
I don't want to wait for the next Congress. I want to start now. You know, it could go down very fast.
It's just nothing but lie. Every time he talks, he just lies. So I'm not going to curse today. I was really wound up the other day with Trump. I went I should never go to the gas station before I make a video because I do my best not to curse. You have to get your point across better than cursing. So I went to the gas pump and stupidly, ignorantly, I said, fill it up. And I should have just said $40, right? I tell the kid, fill it up. And I have a Volkswagen. So, you know, Passat, because I got to tell you kind of how big the car is. And the kid comes back and he tells me I owe him $71 to fill the tank up. Now, it was completely on me. And when I came back and I made my video and I saw Trump just, oh, I thought a barrel of gas was going to be $300 a gallon. We're doing you a favor that it's only $5 a gallon for gas. I was just losing my mind. I was really hot the other day, you know, really hot. But hold on, Netanyahu, the more lies he tells.
There's one fatal flaw in every lighter.
Give me a second.
And nobody talks about it. So we built one that fixes it.
Is the war?
And Netanyahu, he says, you know what? The work's not done yet in Iran. It's not done yet. A lot of work got done, but it's still not done yet. Somebody needs to refresh his memory that he doesn't call the shots. Oh, who is this person? Who is this person? He's the president of a foreign nation, and he's sitting down with 60 Minutes, and he's telling the American public, no, it's not over yet. It's like, really? It's not over yet? Because you say so? I mean, Trump, do you need me to come to your office and handle this for you? I mean, you're weak, you're corrupt, you're totally out of your mind at this point. I would like to say so many more things, but again, I'm going to behave myself today. Who the hell is this person? Who is this ghoul? Who he's going to decide, Netanyahu's going to decide when the war ends. Interesting. Very, very interesting. The arrogance. It's just unreal.
War with Iran over? And if it isn't, who will decide when it is?
I think it accomplished a great deal, but it's not over because there's still nuclear material.
Netanyahu says it's not over. Well, what if Trump comes out tomorrow and says it's over? What about if he said that before you did this, it's over? You're going to overrule him? I mean, we see when he goes to the House floor and Republicans and Democrats they all get up and applaud because, you know, people like Ted Cruz, they want their millions of dollars and, you know, corruption money from Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel, Marco Rubio, J.D. Ozempic, Ron DeSantis, Alexandria Cortez, Gavin Newsom, they all stand up and clap for the ghoul because they're all bought and paid for. So now he thinks that he gets to decide when the war ends. Oh, I can't. I just pray for the day when I can tell you it's over. I really do. I just pray for that day to happen, that I can tell you it's over. I just pray.
Enriched uranium that has to be taken out of Iran. There's still enrichment sites that have to be dismantled. There's still proxies that...
Guess what, Netanyahu? If all these things remain to be done, then IDF soldiers should be doing it by themselves. Since you don't need the American military, that's what you have claimed multiple times on TV. It's time to call your bluff. Not one American soldier should be on the ground with boots on the ground in Iran. It should be all IDF soldiers. It should be anybody that has dual citizenship in Israel and America. That's who it should be. That's who the boots on the ground should be.
Iran supports their ballistic missiles that they still want to produce. Now, we've degraded a lot of it, but all of that is still there, and there's work to be done.
How do you envision the highly enriched uranium will be removed from Iran?
You go in and you take it out.
You see the smirk, you see, how do you think the uranium will be moved? You know, the 60 Minutes guy is just a clown too. How do you think it'll be moved, the uranium? And he's laughing. He's like, you dumb mother effer. The American soldier can risk his life because no IDF soldiers are going to risk their lives because their lives are just too valuable. Right. He's just laughing at you. Trust me, he's laughing at you. Did he bring his dirty underwear for you to clean after the interview or during the interview? Because he's known to do that too.
With what? Special forces from Israel, special forces from the United States?
Well, I'm not going to talk about military means, but what President
I would have told him right to his face. It better be all IDF soldiers and your special forces, and not one American soldier should be on the ground, boots on the ground, risking their life for your country. That's what I would have told him right to his face.
Trump has said to me, I want to go in there. And I think it can be done physically. That's not the problem. If you have an agreement and you go in and you take it out, why not? That's the best way.
What if there isn't an agreement? Can it be taken out by force?
What about South Lebanon? What's the agreement on that? I see all your soldiers are going into the Lebanese homes and cooking meals and taking food and crops and making videos bragging how this is their new homes and this is their new border. What about South Lebanon? Is there any uranium in South Lebanon, Netanyahu? That's the next question the 60 Minutes shill should have asked him, but of course not, you know. Because that would mean the truth would be told what this ghoul is actually doing.
Well, you're going to ask me these questions. I'm going to dodge them because I'm not going to talk about our military.
You think this is a tough interview, Netanyahu? This is a tough interview, huh? Probably for you. I mean, you're just so used to the American media just bowing down to you and licking your boots. So I'm sure you would consider this a tough interview.
Possibilities, plans, or anything of the kind.
And I'm just trying to get at how long is it going to take to achieve?
I promise you, if I ever get the chance, and I don't mean physically, just sitting down across from you and telling you that the aid in the military and it's all over, I'm going to wipe that smirk off your face permanently. That smirk is going to go into a permanent frown. I pray for the day. It's over. The relationship is done. You're getting nothing. We'll see how you're smirking then.
Achieve that aim.
I'm not going to give a timetable to it, but I'm going to say that's a terrifically important mission.
He's not going to give a timetable to it like he calls the shots. See, he does call the shots, and he's arrogantly telling the American citizens right now, oh, I'm not giving a timetable. I don't understand how people aren't outraged about this interview. You know, of course, the obvious podcasters are going to be. There's certain channels that call him out for this. But the American public, like, how do you look at this interview and don't say to yourself, who the F is this clown to think that he's going to dictate when the war is going to be over? You need us for everything. We don't need you for anything. And you think that you call the shots. And there's millions of Americans that don't have a problem with this. My pastor says that, you know, if you bless Israel, you will be blessed. That's not what the Bible says at all. At all. The Christian Judeo, this is the other lie I keep loving to hear. It's like, oh, America was founded off the Christian Judeo relationship. No, it wasn't. No, that's the biggest lie. That's one of the biggest lies that they tell repeatedly. America wasn't founded off the Christian Judeo relationship. It's just a total lie. But they'll brainwash you to death with it. You know, as the ADL tries to remove Jesus Christ from everything. Everything. Your kids' schools, everything. The ADL is one of the biggest groups responsible for it. They don't even want you to say Merry Christmas because they're insulted. But hey, Israel is your greatest ally. Remember that. Anyway, I'm going to move on. His arrogance just makes me, you know, ugh. He's just sickening, I'll tell you. So Megyn Kelly, I'm not a fan of hers. I'm only playing it because I don't know how she gets privy information like this. There was key parts of Netanyahu's 60 Minutes interview that never aired. So let's hear her tell us. I'm not a fan of hers either, because Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson are one and the same. And they'll come out and they'll tell you all the things we already know. And then a couple weeks from now, a couple months from now, she's going to say, remember to vote for J.D. Vance. We all know who J.D. Vance is bought and paid for by. And Tucker Carlson does the same thing. So don't let them fool you.
And frankly, more important, sorry, but they are. The end does not seem to be imminent at all. So that made what the leader of America's partner in this war, he seems to think he's an equal partner. Not sure he's aware. He's got 10 million people in his country. We've got 330 million in ours. Our interests are a lot greater and frankly, more important. Sorry, but they are. And we're running this thing. It's our military. It's our boots on the ground, not yours, that has been doing the lion's share of all this. So yeah, we're
Okay, this is the same person that not even a year ago was saying that she was a Zionist and she had a crush on Mark Levin. But I mean, we all got a game to play. So she's just trying to catch a new wave. But remember what I said. 6 months from now, in 2028, excuse me, not 6 months from now, she's going to come out and tell you to vote for J.D. Ozempic.
we're not equal partners. But in any event, Netanyahu, the Israeli prime minister, went on 60 Minutes last night. And this whole thing made that appearance all the more interesting. 60 aired a good chunk of correspondent Major Garrett's interview with the prime minister on TV last night. The segment was about 12 minutes. But CBS also released the full 70-minute sit-down online. That's not out of the goodness of their hearts. That's thanks to President Trump's lawsuit back in 2024 when he alleged 60 Minutes made misleading edits to a Kamala Harris interview in an effort to make her look good. And when we saw the outtakes, we found out that, of course, is absolutely true. And we saw the tease that they posted. Remember, they had posted different versions of the same answer. One was, she was asked a question. It was actually wasn't it about Netanyahu? And they posted one piece of the answer on one show and another piece of the answer on another show. And it became very clear to those of us out in the world that they'd been manipulating us, which they had been. So now 60 Minutes posts many of its full interviews with newsmakers, and they are sometimes quite illuminating. Like in March, when we showed you a misleading edit of Pete Hegseth's interview with Major Garrett, when the show suggested that Secretary Hegseth was responding to a question about Israel dragging the U.S. into the war. And the extended interview showed the question didn't mention Israel at all. There's manipulation going on over at CBS, especially around the topic of Israel. I wonder why. Now, this time, there was no smoking gun showing journalistic malpractice in last night's Netanyahu interview, but there were some notable ways in which the edited piece differed from the actual full interview in substantive ways. The interview began with Bibi saying the war is not over. And here's an extended version that's slightly longer than what you might have seen if you watched 60 Minutes last night.
Sorry to interrupt, but this is important. The shooter who murdered my sweet little Daniel brought a highly lethal weapon with him to my son's first grade classroom.
Is the war with Iran over? And if it isn't, who will decide when it is?
I think it accomplished a great deal, but it's not over because there's still nuclear material, enriched uranium that has to be taken out of Iran. There's still enrichment sites that have to be dismantled. There's still proxies that Iran supports. There are ballistic missiles that they still want to produce. Now, we've degraded a lot of it, but all of that is still there, and there's work to be done.
How do you envision the highly enriched uranium will be removed from Iran?
You go in and you take it out.
With what? Special forces from Israel, special forces from the United States?
Well, I'm not going to talk about military means, but what President Trump has said to me.
Again, not one IDF soldier will be on that battlefield.
I want to go in there. And I think it can be done physically. That's not the problem. If you have an agreement and you go in and you take it out, why not? That's the best way.
What if there isn't an agreement? Can it be taken out by force?
Well, you're going to ask me these questions. I'm going to dodge them because I'm not going to talk about.
He already knows it's going to be taken out by force because Iran's not going to give it to him. And he knows that. That's why he has the big smirk on his face.
About our military possibilities, plans, or anything of the kind.
And I'm just trying to get at how long is it going to take to achieve that aim?
I'm not going to give a timetable to it, but I'm going to say that's a terrifically important mission.
I mean, okay. Our president doesn't seem to have the appetite for this. They're reporting today, over the weekend, they reported in The Atlantic, he's bored. He's bored with this war. That's the second report using that exact term that we've seen about the president. He's really not that into it anymore. But you can see this guy feels differently. He's not going to talk about timing. Lots of important missions yet to be done in Iran. And here's his answer on the infamous meeting inside the White House Situation Room from February, which the New York Times first broke the news of, where he reportedly persuaded President Trump to start this war. Again, this clip we're going to show you here is a bit longer than what aired in the 60 Minutes broadcast last night.
New York Times on April 7th reported the following about a fateful meeting, February 11th, in the White House. And the New York Times reports as follows. Quote, in the Situation Room on February 11th, Mr. Netanyahu made a hard sell, suggesting that Iran was ripe for regime change.
Trump trusts this person. Like, look at him. You know, this Trump is just corrupt and bought and paid for, and God only knows what else they have on him. But like, you're gonna believe when Benjamin Netanyahu talks. For anybody to believe one word that comes out of this ghoul's mouth is just completely laughable.
Change, and expressing the belief that a joint U.S.-Israeli mission could finally bring an end to the Islamic Republic. Is that correct?
No, that's actually incorrect because...
In what ways is it incorrect?
It's incorrect in the sense that I said, oh, well, it's guaranteed, we can do it, and so on. I didn't say that. We both understood that we have little time to act because otherwise they'd get nuclear weapons. We both understood that we...
Oh, you mean like when you've been on the House floor for the last 40 years claiming that tomorrow Iran's going to have a nuclear weapon? He's been saying the same thing for close to 50 years. It's just Trump. Trump is such a disgrace. He really is. And, you know, I think it was all planned. It's like they get, you know, blackmail on somebody. And then if the person ever rises to the top, they bring it out at the perfect timing to get what they want. He knows that this piece of garbage knows exactly what he's doing. Mossad knows exactly what they're doing. And that's why if you have dual citizenship in America, you should be forced to choose. You have American citizenship, you can't have both. It's time to give it up. We've already seen what dual citizenship allows the country of Israel to do to the American government. And I'm not going to get into JFK, and I'm not going to get into the dancing Israelis, and I'm not going to get into all the other stuff that goes on with people that have dual citizenship right now. But dual citizenship in America needs to end.
We have little time to act because otherwise they'll bury underground their ballistic missile capabilities. But while we said that part of the action would be the removal of the leadership and other measures, there was uncertainty. And we said it. All of this, you know, is uncertain. If you ever, you know, engage in military
in the confines of that conversation, you noted the uncertainty.
Not only did I note it, we both agreed, you know.
No, what he told Trump and what he told Marco Rubio, because Marco Rubio already came out and said it, if you don't go in with us, we're going to bomb them anyway, and it's going to put your soldiers at risk. Marco Rubio came out. Marco Rubio was bought and paid for by Israel. He had a press conference, and he said, we were told by Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government that if we don't, you know, join the war, join the bombing, that they were going to bomb Iran anyway and was going to put all our soldiers' lives in danger. But hey, you know what? Deny it now, of course.
That there was both uncertainty and risk involved.
Okay, got it. Now he wants to underscore that he was really clear with President Trump on the risk and uncertainty around...
Translation, he just threw Trump under the bus also. Don't you love it? Don't you love it?
His plan, you know, his assurances that we could take out the Ayatollah and effect regime change. Easy. 3-4 days, tops. Now he wants you all to know he was really clear on the risk and uncertainty that he advised the president of. Okay.
Him and J.D. Vance, Netanyahu and J.D. Vance are playing the same game. J.D. Ozempic, I was really against the war, you know. And Marco Rubio, I told Trump that this was all BS. Yeah, sure you did, Marco. Right, Marco.
So it's Trump's fault. That's really what he's saying. He advised of the risk and Trump overruled him. Is that true? Or is he possibly overstating the amount of caution that he laced his remarks in?
This 60 Minutes interview by Netanyahu is to try to resurrect Israel's reputation, and that's all it is. So now he's going to blame Trump. I had nothing to do with it. Trump just did it on his own. He overruled me. When Marco Rubio already threw you under the bus, Netanyahu. If we didn't join in, Israel told us they were going to bomb Iran anyway to put all our soldiers' lives in danger. What, you think we didn't see the press conference?
And here's an important answer here. Netanyahu on why America and Israel did not anticipate Iran doing the one thing that has changed this entire conflict and indeed has changed Iran's standing in the war, in the world. Iran, it's now calling itself a global superpower, and it's not the only one. I've seen very smart military analysts say, unfortunately, that's become true, and that's the Strait of Hormuz.
Yep.
Why didn't we anticipate Israel didn't anticipate it, and the United States apparently did.
Oh, no, Trump was told by every advisor on the planet that that would be the first thing that Iran did, and Trump chose to do it anyway. And now Trump's legacy, Trump's legacy will be he made Iran a superpower because he was corrupted by Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel. And now these maniacs, they call them, Netanyahu and Trump, they always call the Iranians maniacs and terrorists, and they're dangerous. But yet Donald Trumpstein, and Benjamin Netanyahu turned Iran into a superpower. Go figure.
Didn't take it seriously. The reports are that Trump didn't believe they could do it, and that Netanyahu had told him it wasn't realistic. But they've done it. They've done it, and it's the thing that is holding everything up. It's holding up the closure of this war, the progress of talks around this war. We've given them a new tool, even more powerful than a nuke. That's what this war has done to Iran. And if you don't think that's empowering, you haven't been paying attention.
Of course it is, because now in Iran, whenever they get pissed off at America, which is often, I mean, I can't blame them. You blow up their citizens and do whatever. They're just going to be like, okay, you want to play this game? We're going to close down the strait. No problem. You want to create chaos on our soil? We're going to create chaos on your soil. And again, I have to remind you, I'm sure you're sick of hearing it, but I don't know who's watching, who doesn't watch. Prior to this situation, the Strait of Hormuz was international waters where everybody could come and go as they pleased. And Trump and Netanyahu were warned by all of our CIA, everybody, not to do this because this would be the result. And because Netanyahu has Trump on a dog collar and a dog leash, dog walking him, they did it anyway. And now Iran is a superpower and they have a new nuclear option. They don't have to push a button for a nuclear weapon. All they have to do is close down the strait.
And unfortunately, it's incredibly empowering for Iran.
There you go.
Right now, they hold a lot of cards, and they're going to hold them forever.
For once, I'll agree with Megyn Kelly, the fraud.
Unless we have a permanent military presence in the Strait of Hormuz, which we police from now to the end of time. I don't think we're prepared to do that. You know how much money that's going to be? When the dollar's convertibility into gold ended in 1971, gold was fixed metals event by April 30th.
They should have figured
to 989898 today. Okay, so why? Why didn't we or they apparently anticipate that they could and would take control of the strait? Here's the answer. Most of this, again, did not air on TV. Watch.
No, I don't claim perfect foresight, and nobody had perfect foresight.
He's lying right there. Every analyst, our CIA, every intelligence report told him this is exactly what would happen. And since Israel has Trump on a leash and Trump is corrupt, they overrid every single report, including Tulsi Gabbard. Don't forget Tulsi. He's just a liar. This ghoul is just a liar. That's all he did. When he's talking, he is lying.
Neither did the Iranians. They should have figured out that that's what's coming.
Did you say that most of these risks would be minimal?
I don't remember using that language, and I don't.
Would that be a fair interpretation?
No, I would say that the overall conception was that this would elicit a
Yes, he did. He told him it would be like Venezuela, and Trump's dumb enough to believe it. That's exactly what he told him. It'll be like Venezuela. You'll be in and out in 24 hours. Trump has said routinely, it's only going to last 72 hours. It's only going to be a week. We've destroyed Iran's Navy. We've destroyed their ships. We've destroyed their Air Force. We've destroyed the whole country. But yet we're in peace negotiations. Right, Trump?
problem, a response that they probably would not shoulder, but they did shoulder, and now they're attacking. They're being attacked accordingly.
Wait, how old is the new hire?
I don't know, but he literally uses Excel.
Yeah.
I promise everybody, when I have money, which who knows when that might happen, when I have some money, I'll upgrade so you don't have to watch the commercials. I promise everybody.
Yes, it's a problem. Yeah, we're aware. So they're at least some telegraph of the truth. They didn't anticipate it. They didn't think that they could shoulder it. Well, they could. And honestly, did he really not know? Did Netanyahu and Israel not anticipate that? I have that a very...
They don't care. You know why Netanyahu and Israel don't care? Because their soldiers won't be fighting the war. That's why. They'll be safe miles upon miles away from the actual war and fighting. And the good old goyim, they could all die for Israel. And you should feel blessed that you got to die for them. That's why they don't care. They don't care if the mission's impossible. Israel doesn't care that the mission might be impossible because they're not risking any of their soldiers' lives to obtain what they want. We'll just send the Americans to do it. They're dumb enough to do it.
Very hard time believing that. I mean, their intelligence is second to none. They knew the Ayatollah was going to be above ground on a certain day with his top emissaries. Their intelligence was really good on the Ayatollah's whereabouts and his plans, and was spot on.
Oh, give me a break, Megan. The Ayatollah didn't even hide. He knew they wanted to kill him. He went right to his office. He was 80 years old. He wanted to pass on. He was sick also, but he thought that would galvanize and get his people to really fight if he put himself out there. So they didn't need this wonderful intelligence to find the Ayatollah. What are you talking about?
But they didn't anticipate that they could effectively take control of the Strait of Hormuz? Or did they just not care? Because their goal is chaos in the Middle East, which benefits them. And our goal is very, very different. Our goal is not chaos in the Middle East. We have a lot of friends and partners and allies there.
Is it really, Megan? Our goal is not chaos in the Middle East? Okay, if that's the case, then why are we letting Netanyahu control President Trump and the United States military? If our goals are totally different, well, obviously they're not, Megan.
With whom we do great business and whose relations with us have only been getting stronger, and that's a good thing for the United States. Is it really great for us to have chaos in the Middle East? Is it great for us to have, by the way, Iran bombing our allies over there, which is what they've been doing? That's another thing that was just very, very interesting piece in The Atlantic by a big-time neocon hawk, a guy who was behind the Iraq war, the surge in Iraq, and push for, all sorts of conflicts, writing some tough talk about how the war in Iran is going, saying, basically, we've lost. And it's worse than our loss in Vietnam. It's worse than...
We made Iran a superpower. It's as bad as it gets, right? Think about it. Trump and Netanyahu, all they do is call Iranians like the worst names on the planet. And Trump turns them into a superpower because he didn't want to listen to his own CIA and analyst experts. Every single person involved with Trump told him, don't do it. It's only going to go bad. And he did it anyway for his boss, Benjamin Netanyahu. And again, Iran is now a new superpower. Congratulations, Trump. That's your legacy.
And anything, that Afghanistan, it's worse than Iraq. It's very, very bad because we've empowered Iran in a way that we didn't anticipate.
There you go.
And Robert Kagan is the name of the guy. And talking about how Iran has now become empowered as a result of its control of the Strait of Hormuz. And one of the ways...
It's like Trump, when you were a little kid, right? Did you have the green army men and then the Germans were the brown ones and you set them up and you had your little tanks and You played your strategic war and you had the little map with the water. Do you remember that, Trump? Or you didn't do that as a kid? You probably didn't. Who knows? You know, you were too busy trying to like sell a car or something. I don't know. But I mean, it's pretty like basic military strategy. Pretty basic. The one thing that Iran really has over America and the entire world, this little 18 miles of strip of water where everything needs to pass through. You thought you were just going to blow them off the map and they were just going to be like, we're all just going to fall in line for Trump and Netanyahu and Israel, our mortal enemies, and we're not going to close down the strait. That's what Trump thought. Okay, Trump.
In which,
like, where did you go to school, man? Where did you go to school? This whole situation could have been solved with a sit down, like face-to-face talk. The whole entire situation. But this is what happens when you're corrupt like Trump. This is what happens when Israel controls America. All for this whole situation is to expand Israel's borders, the Greater Israel Project. This is what happens when the American people elect a corrupt president like President Trump. Because if he wasn't corrupt, this whole thing could have been handled with a conversation for the alleged nuclear weapons, which is a total lie also. But if there was really nuclear weapons, this all could have been handled with a conversation. But hey.
We've been compromised is in fighting back. Not only did it take the strait, it started bombing all of its allies in the neighborhood, our allies in the neighborhood. And
war is not good for anybody. It's bad for business. I know you put a fatwa, whatever they call it, that they're not going to use nuclear weapons. Iran has the right to defend itself like the rest of the countries around the world. Everybody wants a nuclear weapon. You know why? Not to use it. It's to get other countries to back off. And that's why Israel doesn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon, because then they can't be the superpower in the Middle East.
That the reason Trump entered into a ceasefire was not a desire for a ceasefire so much as it was the fact that Iran had bombed the energy infrastructure in Qatar. And that if anything like that continued, we were going to be setting the energy markets back by years, decades.
Decades.
And it needed to
years.
stop ASAP. They actually pulled another trick out of their hat that materially changed the course of the war. It wasn't just we're going to be nice. All right, so there's been a lot happening. This has been a very savvy, tough effort that we're fighting over there. It's not a compliment. It's just a reality and something.
Megan, I will give them credit for one thing. The Iranians are very tough, very proud people. And again, they're fighting for Allah, a God. They're a totally different opponent than Venezuela. But this was their only out. This was their only play to close down the strait. This is the only thing that they could do. I mean, they do want a ground war because in that terrain in the mountains, and then they have the Chechens come in and, they can, our soldiers anytime they want. It's very difficult terrain. But this pretty much was their only out. And if you had any type of brain, any type of understanding what would go on, you would have Trump would have did everything in his power to make this not happen. And I'll say it again, because Trump is corrupt and bought and paid for and compromised, this is where we are right now.
The skeptics about the war had advised President Trump about. Okay, so now here's Netanyahu claiming he was one of them. Okay, sure you were, sure. And here's another thing that did not air at all on last night's broadcast, and that's Netanyahu discussing how long this war might last.
Did you ever?
Hey, you're seeing this ad because I think you may have a house that you need to sell quickly.
We had our...
Did you ever wonder how Megyn Kelly gets her hands on the footage that didn't air? Did you ever ask yourself that? I told you, to me, Megyn Kelly is CIA. So is Tucker Carlson. They're the two biggest names in the space. They're brought out to regain the narrative. But in the end, like I always say, I have to remind you, in 2028, Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly will tell you to vote for JD Ozempic, and nothing will change. So they're doing everything to make it look like they're on your side and, America first. And then, by the way, make sure to vote for JD Ozempic.
brave pilots and your brave pilots over the skies of Tehran, over the skies of Iran. That changed. That broke that mask of invincibility. And once that happens, that regime, I think their days are numbered. But it could take a lot of days, I grant you that. And if you say...
There's the hint again. It could take a lot of days. So he's already telling you this is going to be another endless war. And Trump is on TV every day. Oh, guess this war is going to end very soon and gas prices are going to shoot down and you're going to see the cheapest gas prices that you've ever seen. And Netanyahu gets on TV with 60 Minutes and he tells you it's going to take a lot of days, a lot of days. The war's not ending anytime soon. Have you had enough yet?
How long would it take, this war? I think a lot has been accomplished in a very short time. It's not going to take years. It better not take months.
It better not take months?
It may not take months. Okay. It depends. You know, it depends a lot. I don't want to put a schedule.
This 60 Minutes interviewer, he's got no balls. He's got zero balls, like zero. And he'll say, well, I'm being professional. And yeah, of course, there's a certain way that you have to handle yourself. But to Netanyahu, this is a tough interview for him. Oh, I pray. I pray for the day I could tell you it's over, Netanyahu.
On it. I think there's a mission schedule. There are goals to be achieved. But so far, I think an enormous amount has been done in a very short time.
So are we going to be perpetually months away from ending the war? Remember, President Trump said it was going to be 4 weeks. Now we get from Netanyahu months.
That's what I just said.
And won't get more specific. Are we going to be perpetually months away from ending this thing, just like Iran was perpetually weeks away from obtaining a nuclear weapon in the years before Operation Epic Fury? That's what we've dubbed this war. I mean, truly, Netanyahu's been saying that they're weeks away for years now, weeks and months at most.
Netanyahu's been saying this for 50 years on the House floor. Iran will have a nuclear weapon by tomorrow.
This is sounding like the Iraq war clips that we brought to you when this war began in March. Dick Cheney, Don Rumsfeld saying it was just going to be weeks or months at the outset. 8 years later, that war finally ended. Not to mention ground troops, more ground troops, the surge. That was Iraq.
If you're in the military, please don't re-enlist. Do everything the legal way. Nobody should join the military. If they try to draft your children, don't go. Nobody re-enlist. Let Israel fight their own wars. Listen to Candace Owens. I've been saying it too for a while. Do not join the military. Let the IDF fight their own wars. Call Benjamin Netanyahu's bluff.
Thanks for watching this.
All right, I got to move on from this topic, but you see, Trump is just, his presidency's over. So today on the House lawn, Trump comes out and he says he doesn't think about Americans' financial woes, not even for 1 second. Let me play the tape.
Why is everyone using ninja transfers?
Ninja transfers is definitely killing them.
When you're negotiating with Iran, Mr. President, to what extent are Americans' financial situation motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit.
Did you just hear that? Did you just hear that? Is Americans' financial situation going to make you make a deal anytime soon? Because he knows we're all struggling. No, not even for a minute. Not even for, I'm going to replay it. Let's hear it again. Not even for a second. Donald Trump's seen, he doesn't care what your problems are. He doesn't care about the inflation. All he talks about is the stock market. The stock market doesn't correlate to everyday American citizens who are going to fill up their gas tank at the pump or buying groceries. And this is all he talks about is the stock market and the Dow.
Americans' financial situation motivating you to make a deal?
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit. Is Americans' financial situation motivating you to make a deal? Not even a little bit. I don't care about any of you. I conned you. It's over. You haven't figured it out yet? He's a con man?
The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation. I don't think about anybody. I think about one thing. We cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon.
He doesn't think about anybody. He just thinks about what his boss Netanyahu wants, and you know, they're making up a story about nuclear weapons just like they always do in every war. Oh, these people have a nuclear weapon. He doesn't care that Pakistan has nuclear weapons. He doesn't care that North Korea has nuclear weapons. There's plenty of countries that have nuclear weapons. He's only concerned about Iran. Go figure. And Tulsi Gabbard, you know, what about her report? Iran has no intention of using a nuclear weapon against America. They don't have enough uranium. And then guess what? We've never seen Tulsi Gabbard again. Did Trump take her on a cruise and throw her overboard? I'm concerned. I'm concerned.
That's all. That's the only thing that motivates.
Did you say earlier that the only thing that matters to you when it comes to Iran is a nuclear weapon? You're not considering the financial impact of this war on Americans?
The most important thing by far, including whether our stock market, which by the way is at an all-time high, but including whether or not our stock market goes up or down a little bit, the most important thing by far is Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
What about the pressure?
Piece of garbage. Still talking about the stock market and the, you know, the ballroom that he just spent, you know, $1 trillion on. That's all he cares about. He doesn't care that the Americans that voted for him, the working class that voted for him, he doesn't care that you're struggling. Nope, he doesn't care at all. Those are his words, not mine.
Americans and prices right now.
Every American understands.
Americans, how they're feeling about
every American. Are you listening?
Here he goes with the fake polls. Here he goes with the fake polls again. Every American understands this. Yeah, but when he's polling in the 20s. He has a favorable polling of 20%. But yet, according to Trump, all the fake polls say that 99.9% of the polls agree with him.
Every American understands, and they just had a poll, like 85%, which is surprising. It's only that they understand that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Well, listen, I don't need to comment. You saw what he said. You heard what he said. It's over. So if you're still supporting this at this point, maybe you need to see a psychiatrist. That's my advice to you. So Nick Fuentes, he gets himself into a situation that, you know, not really. It wasn't Nick Fuentes. It was Dan BLIZERIAN. This is what I feel what's going on here. Oh, let me make sure I'm in the right place. Hold on.
Not people that got into this.
Hold on. Let me go to the right place. 2711. Hold on. Just give me a second. Let me make sure the video's in the right place because it's too long to play.
Corroborated by a person by the name of Lucas Gage. If you don't know, he's been quite critical. He's not a groyper. I believe he is conservative, but yeah, he is not a groyper. In fact, he has he's had, you know, the groypers come after him in the past, maybe for his social views or whatever, his cultural views, I think. Clarifying his comments.
Farah, you're right. You want to say that Trump is controlled by Netanyahu and Mark Levin? You're right. You want to get on TV and say, I want to...
All right, hold on. I think I'm in the wrong place. Just give me a minute.
And I walk outside. Whatever, extension. So that's like for a phone. I don't know what you would say. AF.plus/super chat. That's how you can send in a super chat. Check us out. All right, so we're going to get into it. We're going to dive into what you've all been waiting for.
Okay, this is the part. Now, I believe that Dan BLIZERIAN, you know, Nick is going to talk about how Dan BLIZERIAN, when he had him at his house, he made him put his phone in the thing and he takes him out on the balcony and he's asking him how he can get rid of Ben Shapiro and certain Israelis. That's a setup. BLIZERIAN was probably arrested for something that nobody knows about, and he's trying to work off a beef, and now he's trying to set up Nick Fuentes for an attempted, you know what? It's shady as hell. We all know it's shady as hell. But what I believe that they're really trying to do, and Nick has been saying this for like the last year and a half, that when it comes down to the midterms, he feels like a certain group is going to try to hijack the American First movement, and they try to do it over the weekend. And that's what I believe. That's why I believe that Dan BLIZERIAN is making these outrageous statements, like the things that he's saying about Israel. He's making it personal, like making it sound like he hates every Jewish person on the planet instead of the Israeli government and Netanyahu. I believe he's saying these outrageous things intentionally because a lot of people can't decipher that. They'll just lump in Nick with Dan BLIZERIAN and the whole group. Right? They'll just lump them in. And if you're an independent voter and you hear that and you see it, you get turned off. It's a bad look. Just like when they had the incident in the club with that song, it's a bad look. That's not the way you want to go about things if you want people to take you serious in politics, where you have like low IQ, you know, anti-Semitic behavior. And that's what Dan BLIZERIAN is. So Nick is going to explain to you that he's happy that this finally happened because now he can really separate himself from BLIZERIAN and that group, because you don't want to be associated with that at all. Like low IQ racist behavior like that. You know, people could say whatever they want about Nick Fuentes, but he is super, super intelligent. And you have to remember, he's very skilled and he's very crafty because he started from the ground up. Most 18-year-old kids, remember one thing, Ben Shapiro wanted Nick Fuentes to work for him. Nick Fuentes said no. And Ben Shapiro and that whole elite establishment tried to destroy an 18-year-old kid. Most 18-year-old kids would just be gone. They wouldn't be doing YouTube at all. He has survived and overcome. And when you have to go that route to get to the position that he's in now, he's been crafted like a diamond through the pressure. He's super tough. And he's super skilled and he's super crafty. And he is far from dumb. We all know. If he was dumb, Ben Shapiro doesn't want him to work for him. But he's a very, very skilled, super intelligent opponent. Not to be underestimated. Him and Dan BLIZERIAN are nowhere in the same stratosphere of intelligence or understand what's going on. Like if you're running for president, you need to sit down with him and go over your strategy. Your entire strategy, whether you're dissecting another candidate's weaknesses and what he stands for, or the way you're going to present your plan for America. He is far from stupid, Nick Fuentes. Super, super intelligent. But that all gets overlooked because the media has done a character assassination job on his character.
What you've all wanted to hear. And obviously last week, there's been a lot of weird things that have been going on. And I want to say at the outset, I don't know what is going on. It could be a conspiracy. It could be coordinated. There's certainly aspects of coordination, which we will discuss.
It's definitely coordinated. It's definitely coordinated. If the bigger plan is for 2028 or the midterms, I have no idea. But there's no doubt in my mind this is coordinated. Why Dan? I mean, Dan wants Nick to be looked at as like this out of control, uneducated, somebody who lives in a trailer park doing meth, anti-Semite. That's the way that BLIZERIAN wants people to interpret Nick when he talks about the policy. You do see that none of these people, Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, if Erica Kirk, Mark Levin, and Ben Shapiro and Benjamin Netanyahu were really trying to regain the narrative that Israel's this wonderful country and they have America's best interest, and Erica Kirk is trying to turn around Turning Point USA. If I ran Turning Point USA, I would demand that you sit down and you talk with Nick Fuentes, or we can't do business anymore. We're gonna get all this out in the open. It'll be the most watched thing that, the ratings will be through the roof. So when you don't debate Nick on the policy, it just tells me that you're full of you know what.
don't know. It could all be a coincidence. And we could attribute it to malice, or we can attribute it to foolishness.
It's just so easy for all these people to be in a group chat together, bro. Like, give me a break. They're all coordinating.
I don't know, but we're going to lay out the facts. And I think that really we're going to get
to this guy in the bottom left. Sorry, I'm piggybacking, but I don't have Rumble, so it's just easier for me to do it this way.
into some of the drama and the he said, she said, and allegations. But the big picture and the headline to me has nothing to do with any of that. And I want to make that very explicit at the beginning. We're going to talk about who said what and when and who started it. We're going to do a little bit of that. And we're going to talk about some of these events, and we can speculate about how coordinated it is and what the goal is. But I want to make it clear that that is not really all that important.
The goal is character assassination. It always is. And it's to try to swing the voters whichever way Nick is going, to get them to swing the other way, especially the independents and the people in the middle. Again, if they can, if Dan Bilzerian can pull Nick into making him look like a low IQ, out of control anti-Semite who's just like a rabid dog obsessed with Israel and Jewish people, it's a really bad look. It's like, and that's what always happens in these conversations. Like, oh, I have a problem with Netanyahu and I have a problem with the Israeli government. Doesn't mean I hate my Jewish dentist or my Jewish chiropractor, and they're both Jewish and they do a great job. But, it's whatever. That's what they turn it into.
If you manage travel spend and you're not using the van, you're missing out. Hi, I'm Sarah.
I'm Anita.
And we're part of the finance.
I will say at the very beginning, the most important thing, the headline out of all of this, and this is a question I want you to keep in mind, is what kind of movement do you want to be a part of? That's really the question. And you can take...
Nick says this later, the sophistication. Yeah, a sophisticated, educated, a plan that makes America an industrial powerhouse once again. We should be the safest country in the world. We should have the most beautiful infrastructure. Every country in the world, everybody else's citizens should want to make America a tourist destination. It should be beyond safe, safer than Dubai. You need to have realistic goals for the country, which can easily be achieved if you don't put up with people's garbage and nonsense.
Dan Bilzerian, I actually think he is the perfect avatar of his movement.
It's true.
And you could take me, and you could look at these two side by side and what we've done and our lives.
Bilzerian has no depth to the topics that he talks about. Like, oh, I'm going to run. Okay, well, what are you going to do? What's your plan? Oh, I don't know. Jewish people are bad. Jewish people are evil. Israel's this. Israel's that. It's like, okay, what's your plan? What's your plan? And that's not how Nick operates either. So it's like, he's so right that whatever his name is, Bilzerian is totally different than Nick. They're so different. It's not even funny. But the average person, like Nick calls them, they're, the normies, the people that don't really pay attention, will just automatically assume that they're one and the same. And it's completely different. Completely. They're completely different.
Lives and what we're about. And to me, that's really what matters. And I will make the case for myself at the very beginning. When I started this show, there was a need. There was a need for a movement that was more radical than Trump, that would live up to and fulfill his original vision of making America great again and putting America first. I saw Trump as a great leader in 2016, as a pioneer, somebody who was talking specifically about three big issues. He was talking about how our foreign policy was being hijacked by neocons and even by AIPAC, which he explicitly mentioned in 2015 to bring us to war in Iraq and ultimately in...
That's why Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, and Netanyahu, all the never-Trumpers, that's why they hated him. Because Trump was going on stage during debates and mentioning AIPAC, how they corrupt both sides of the aisle.
Iran and elsewhere, and that's putting America last. And Americans are dying, and we're spending money to fight other people's wars. But he also talked about immigration, and he said that our country is being invaded. We need to build a wall to create distinction and separation between America and the rest of the world. Because what has been happening is that we have been invaded by non-white immigrants, for the most part, who are fundamentally changing the character of the country. And that is not putting Native Americans first. America has a distinct character, heritage, identity. And when you bring in 70 million people in 30 years, all from the third world, they're destroying what it is to be an American. That's a critical pillar.
And then anyone who denies that pillar, all right, even especially if they're on the...
Oh, you mean like Tucker Carlson? He doesn't see color. He doesn't see... It's pretty insulting, and it's racist in itself to say, like, if somebody's black, you don't notice that they're black. Doesn't mean you're judging them off their color. How can you not notice another person's race? All the other races notice race. But if you're white, you're not allowed to notice race for some. Like, they all have to play this stupid game. Like, I don't see any color. I don't see any. I'm just colorblind. That's what Tucker Carlson does. It's just total garbage. And it's pretty insulting to people of color.
Right wing, you have to look at the reality of places that are arguably much more far ahead in the timeline of mass migration, i.e. the UK, Europe, Canada, all right? These places, white people are already a minority, all right? Whites only make up in Canada and Toronto, at least, vast minority now. We're like what? Holding on at like 30-40% now. It's like, it's pretty stark. We're well below 50% of the population now, and that's on purpose. We've been absolutely replaced, right?
And the last one is on trade. Where America derives its power and its strength, not just economically and militarily, but also morally, is its productivity. We're a factory, we're an engine, we're a workshop. That is what makes us a superpower. And what else has coincided with the wars and with the immigration?
And that's why nobody is happy. That's why there's always like this tension. You know, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, early 90s, it's like if you weren't going to go to college and you were in high school, they had like workshop or print shop, or everybody worked at the factory down the street, and you knew if you worked there, you know, fine. You might not be living in a mansion, but you knew you could survive, and you'd have a place to live, and you'd have food, and you'd have a place to stay. And now these jobs, they can't. First of all the jobs are gone. The jobs don't pay well enough for you to survive because everything is so, the prices are so high. I don't see anybody happy anymore because there's always this lingering like cloud of people are worried about survival. And I was looking this up today. In America, there's 19,500 towns. There's close to 20,000 towns in America. And every single town in America, we should be manufacturing every single thing on American soil. Every single town should be responsible for building something. And if your kid doesn't want to go to college, or if he doesn't want to go to trade, guess what? He goes down the street and he works in a place and he builds something, and he can take pride in something. And the community also works there with them. And you know, kids leaving high school, you know, a group of friends say, you know what, let's just go down to the local factory. We can make enough money. We can have health benefits. We can survive. They can feel a sense of community instead of like feeling like they're abandoned on the computer all day, looking at porn, gambling, all the garbage that gets pushed down their throat. And that's why you have all these young men that are depressed because they feel like there's no hope. They feel like they have no chance at life. And we can absolutely do it because we're the United States of America. We can do anything we put our minds to. But people like President Trump choose not to because they're too busy putting the country of Israel and other countries before the United States of America and our citizens.
Is the deindustrialization of America. We've lost all the workshops, all the factories, all the industry. We don't make anything anymore. And when we don't make anything, we become idle. And when we become idle, we get on drugs and we kill ourselves. Yeah. And women have all the jobs. And then women don't want to date the men because they make all the money. And all the communities die because the only jobs are in hospitals and schools and government administration. This is what's happening between the two coasts. And so these were the three big policy areas. But there's also dimensions above that too. It is that America has lost its way as a Christian country. It's lost its way as a European country. These are identity-based issues. And so whereas Trump maybe had the right idea on those three big policy areas, arguably the two deficits, that he was not talking about the meaningful ways in which we're losing our sense of self as flesh and blood people, but also losing our sense of self spiritually and morally as a Christian nation. And we're becoming something like a hedonistic, degenerate, pluralistic nation that has no values, has no morals. We've embraced pornography and gambling. And
it's almost like, you know, GTA 5, I guess GTA 4 to a certain extent, but Grand Theft Auto has been one.
It just seems like, for the most, I'm not saying there's no decent people, but it just seems like decency is like an oddity at this point.
One of the better portrayers of the current moment. Now, I don't have high hopes for GTA 6. Don't get me started on that. But it does seem like Rockstar was able to kind of encapsulate what those eras, what 2008 or what 2013, I guess 2014 is when it actually came out. Yeah, it is. That's what those eras feel like, and they focus so much on the hedonism, of the narcissism, of the nihilism. It's like, well, that's the accurate picture. It's not even a caricature necessarily.
And all kinds of other vices. I mean, you can see them. And so the America First movement, when I started it, arose from this need for something more progressive than Trumpism.
Vibe coders, ready to build more? Meet Base 44.
Call it America First, call it right-wing nationalism. We want to bring America back. And we're embracing a positive vision where we're looking at young people and we want them to get excited about a future where they're going to be able to get a job, start a family, where there's some sense of a moral compass or fabric in the country. There's also a social fabric because we have things in common with each other. Like, yeah, we look similar. We all speak English. We all come from a similar place or a similar background.
There's just that undeniable feeling when you walk into a room and everyone looks like you. They're like, everyone knows what that's like. And it feels good. And it's the opposite of when you walk into, say, for instance, you walk onto public transit and you're the only white person there. Yeah, that's a bit awkward. I've been in that situation a few times in the past. Thank God, not anymore. But in my not in my current living situation, but in the previous days when I had to take the bus to college, man, just all like blacks, Indians, like, you know, it was just migrant central, dude. And I don't know. I personally, I don't want that. I don't want to be the only white person, you know, in a space anymore. It's just, I'm tired of it. I would rather go back to how it was when I was a kid, where when you went everywhere, it was just mainly white people. It's like 95% white people everywhere you went back in the day.
And what's more, we are going to be taken care of by our own government. We're actually going to have our civil rights, freedom of speech. We're also going to be able to access the political system, even if we've criticized it. This is the positive vision that we set out to achieve, and we're trying to achieve that through politics, primarily by infiltrating and hijacking the Republican Party. This has really been my mode. This has been my MO for 10 years. For as long as I've been doing this show, I have been saying the left is irredeemable, diabolical, evil. Our only hope is that we are the successors to the Trump movement. Trump destroyed the old GOP, created a vacuum, and we need to fill it. How? We need the young men watching the show that know what is going on, that know the score. We need them to enthusiastically show up and get involved and become the future leadership of the opposition party. You don't have to like the GOP, I don't. You don't have to like movement conservatism, I don't either. But the infrastructure and the institutions, what they represent on the right wing is the organized opposition to the left. All of that infrastructure, all these institutions, all that stuff, it is there for the taking. And if young, energetic, radical people show up and want it more, in a generation, we will control the opposition. We can use it as a vehicle to take on the left in the way that Trump did. Trump ran a hostile takeover of the GOP, and as the leader of the party, he waged a challenge against the left, not as a conservative, but as a nationalist. This is what he did in 2016. The only problem is he was not sophisticated enough. He was not an ideologue. He did not have a cadre of personnel. There were all sorts of flaws. Maybe he just didn't want it bad enough.
You know, it's a part of Trump that I don't think he had a coherent, formed out ideology. I don't think it was fully formed there. I think he had whims. I think he knew what was going to work with the crowd. And I think most of what Trump's political thesis really was just the crowd, was knowing what people wanted to hear, knowing how a rally was supposed to go. These are very like basic things, but a lot of politicians just fail to accomplish them time and time again. Donald Trump understood the power of a charismatic leader, even if your ideas were not a thing to be saying on Sneako's stream, of course. And I think they have in common is that
subordinate, then that is okay. But the idea that you're bringing them together with any degree of parity, like there's any equivalency, it's never going to work because there is a deep conflict of values.
And, you know, as American nationalists, we don't shy away from having conversations with left-wing or Muslim colleagues or people. Wouldn't want to say colleagues, but I guess it's an appropriate term, right? We don't shy away from having these conversations, acknowledging that, hey, you might, you know, have some things like the left wants public transit, right? Like, I'm not opposed
out about the event. And this is where I started to get a little bit suspicious. So they throw this event, and like I said,
from that. So there's certain things where it's like we could.
All right, this is where Nick gets into the issue with Dan Bilzerian.
Have these conversations, but the left has to understand that they're not going to be the ones bossing anybody around, nor the Muslims. All right, you are going to.
All right, come on, be quiet.
50 people showed up. 400 people watched the live stream. I didn't even know about it until a couple of weeks ago, and yet there was a New York Times journalist that attended the event and then wrote an article about it in the New York Times, which appeared on the front page a few days later. And the article, the headline of the article was, "Can there be an America First movement without Nick Fuentes?"
And you know exactly what did Nick warn about at the very beginning of the year? Go back to early January, guys. What was he warning about? That they are going to try to skin suit the Groyper movement. They're going to try to essentially be like, what, like a Wendigo, a skinwalker, put on, you know, wear Nick Fuentes as a skin suit.
So what's the big idea there? They put together this conference. We're bringing in Muslims and left-wing people and these candidates and all these others. It's really a big nothing. Nobody goes. Nobody watches it. Nobody really major even shows up in person. As I understand, Dan Bilzerian was their big guest. He could not attend in person because he had a paintball tournament. I'm not making that up. So, you know, bigger priorities. And yet there was a New York Times journalist there covering it. And then he does a big piece about it on the...
They don't get it. There's only certain individuals that are meant for this type of life that can attract the crowd. And Nick has been saying this for the last year and a half, 2 years, that he felt like when crunch time comes around for the next election, that some outside entity is going to try to hijack the American First movement. And here we go. It's like he predicted it, like he had a crystal ball. And it's not just that they're trying to hijack it. I think they're trying to, I think Dan Bilzerian is saying these outrageous things to try to make Nick look like this uneducated, racist bigot that's not educated, that doesn't understand policy or doesn't have a vision for America. And he's trying to like pull Nick into this like garbage, whatever he's trying to create.
Front page a few days later, and like I said, the headline is America First without Nick Fuentes. This is what it said. I'm going to read this article to you. It says, quote, "Billed as the first bipartisan event uniting America First candidates and influencers opposed to AIPAC, endless wars, and the Epstein cover-up, the gathering last Saturday afternoon was an effort to expand a movement closely associated with Nick Fuentes, a white nationalist influencer and outspoken anti-Semite. The event was sparsely attended. Many of the around 50 guests were dressed in their Sunday best."
Could you imagine the New York Times just calling you an anti-Semite and a neo-Nazi? And it's just like, wow. It's just, but they don't have a problem with Mark Levin, Benjamin Netanyahu. They don't have a problem with multiple genocides. It's just like, Let's just call everybody that doesn't agree with us a neo-Nazi. It's crazy.
Suits and loafers. Ms. Dangerfield, the organizer, said, "We felt like we had to do something." She is a recent convert to the America First program, but it has become her political home. She's eager to see it coalesce into a coherent force. She said, quote, "We were sick of staying online and just complaining about things, saying, 'I wish things were different,'" said Ms. Dangerfield, who is in the process of obtaining citizenship. "We have to get people elected that are for Americans, that want to put Americans in America first."
Like, she's even copying what Nick says word for word, like when he tries to encourage the youth or younger people to get involved in politics, like get your act together and get involved. Like, they're copying word for word with what Nick tells his audience.
More pressing concerns, however, seem to be weighing on the younger segment in attendance. As one conference goer in his early 30s put it to me, "or a loss." Another, sizing up the crowd, said, "Welcome to Chud hell." The concerns echoed the dynamics that govern most social functions. Was it uncool to be here? Were the guests also deeply uncool? As footage of the conference appeared online throughout the day, critics on social media began to ridicule the event. They mocked its tiny audience, its low production value, and a speaker list that lacked star power. Viewers of the event stream on the platform Rumble observed that only about 500 people had tuned in. As Ms. Dangerfield scanned her social media mentions, she suggested that a successful version of America First might not be one helmed by Mr. Fuentes. Instead, she offered it might be best embodied by figures like James Fishback or even Dan Bilzerian.
Like, she's not even American. All right. It's crazy, bro. She's literally from the other side.
And think about Fishback and BLIZERIAN, how outrageous some of their statements are. I don't think that Fishback is going to win Florida at all. BLIZERIAN's not going to win. So if you can put Nick in there with all the losers, then whenever Nick tries to, promote a candidate, people are just going to look at it negatively. I believe like they're trying to, they're trying to turn Nick, they're just trying to make him look, again, like an uneducated, racist bigot that's just totally out of his mind, obsessed with Israel for no reason. And it's about hating people that chose Judaism as a form of worship when that's clearly not the issue. And it's like they're playing a game here, a sick game. And they're trying to drag Nick into it.
Side of the planet. When you think about it, it's like people give me shit for being Canadian. It's like, listen, my grandmother's American. I'm literally right across the border. All right. At me. All right. But like this woman.
Come on.
Tonight we are celebrating with John and Alicia. A year in the making, planning and preparing with such an incredible couple. And we're so
excited. This was filmed at the event, and the guy says, "We need real macho alpha male Christians to lead the movement. Nick Fuentes has done his part, but his time is over. We need to step it up." Jake Shield says, yeah, he can't be the leader.
Nick Fuentes' time is over? I mean, doesn't seem like his time is over to me. Seems pretty influential. It's like Tucker Carlson the other day. He's like, oh, he's just a kid. He's a nobody. I'm sorry I even interviewed him. Like, nobody even cares about that kid. What's his relevance or, he has no relevance whatsoever. I'm saying it wrong. I'm going full. Let me not go there. But he's not relevant, I should say. Sorry. Brain freeze. But that's the way Tucker was trying to describe Nick, like he has no influence. And just Tucker's just, Tucker did the whole, oh, I love talking to you. And it was a great conversation. Let's do it again. And, I love you, Nick, everything. And then 2 seconds later, he's on every podcast in the world saying negative things about Nick and just being the two-faced CIA agent that he actually is.
He doesn't have the leadership qualities. Later in the week, Tucker Carlson goes on his show.
There we go, sorry.
And he says in an interview with Tyler Oliveira that Nick Fuentes is all about himself. And one day there's going to be a movement of people that are actually going to do something and they want to build a movement and it's going to be more radical than him. So I'm starting to see a pattern.
Yeah, me too.
You do a conference where people go and say, we need America first without him. You have a New York Times journalist putting a piece based on this event that is a total nothing, saying it's America first without Nick Fuentes.
It's all a collaboration to take Nick's influence. Influence is the most valuable currency in 2026. So it's a collaboration to steal his influence by any means necessary.
You do an interview, and one of the speakers and one of the guests say, yeah, it's time for him to step aside. He can't be the leader. Tucker Carlson says on his show, yeah, he's all about himself. He's not building a movement. We need somebody else. And then the coup de grace comes last Thursday when Dan Bilzerian puts on Twitter, and it's a full frontal attack. It's like Pearl Harbor. Nick Fuentes is a Fed. First he says Democrats are going to kill us. Then he backs Amy Acton. He didn't support Casey Push. All this guy does is cause drama. And then there was a full court attack, full spectrum attack from about a handful of other influencers, one of which said he was called in advance and told to attack me.
And this is literally a repeat.
Democrat. That journalism, it's go
directly, give them a script, all right? And they would say something for you to their millions of followers or thousands or whatever they have. So there was a literal campaign from Influenceable called Fed Fuentes, where they're paying influencers to say that Nick is a Fed.
I'm talking, of course, about the YouTuber Eric Orwell.
And this whole Fed thing, I'm being honest with you, I don't care if he was or he isn't. Like, there's flip sides to every coin. It's like, you don't think there's FBI agents that are sick of the Israel first agenda? Of course there are. You don't think there's CIA agents that feel the same way? There's always two sides. And then there's the other group within the agency that's for it. And that's like, that's life. There's always a yin and a yang. So even if he was, to me, it's like, I don't really care. Honestly, I don't care if he was or he was. It's totally irrelevant to me. I believe that he's America first, 1,000%. I don't think that he has any other interest besides putting America first. And he's telling the truth, how a foreign country is taking over our government, corrupted all our politicians, and Israel's controlling Trump also. So whatever his other businesses are, that's totally, like, I don't care. You're like, you're a Fed too. You're getting paid by the CIA. You're a Saudi Arabian asset. It's just like, all right, whatever, man. Check my bank account.
Longtime enemy. He put out a 26-minute video after Dan Bilzerian put out the tweet and said he had the courage to make his statement after Dan called him on the phone and told him it was go time. Lucas Gage said the same thing. So apparently there was some kind of effort behind the scenes calling everybody saying, we're going to move against this guy tonight. This is the big night. We're making our move.
Yeah.
It's like the Ides of March. It's like Julius Caesar.
Yeah, they're making their big move, and 20 people showed up to an auditorium. And BLIZERIAN is on webcam with paintball actors and the paintball players in the background. Right.
All right, Arvil. All right, coal burner comedian. All right, retard alert. Punch drunk idiot. All right, Eric Orwell, trailer park nationalism. It's go time. We're all coming at. And for the past 5 days, I've been subject to full spectrum attack by every enemy, every adversary in the extended America First universe, leveling every accusation that we've all heard before. It started with, you're not doing anything in real life. Then it was,
let me talk to my dog real quick. I'm sorry. I'll take you in a few minutes. Stop. I'll walk you in a minute.
You're attacking Casey Push. Then it was, you endorsed a Democrat. Then it was, you're a Fed. Now it's just, you're queer. We don't like you. You're anti-family. You sold the quarters. Now it's just everything. Everyone saying everything in some kind of coordinated attack to what? Once and for all defeat me? Once and for all make me go away?
Exactly.
It doesn't work like that.
Exactly.
It's never worked like that.
Oh, no, you're going to call him bad names, and he's just going to stop his show tomorrow and quit politics because you called him a bunch of names. It's like, I don't really think you're really underestimating your opponent here and don't understand who you're dealing with. That's like me. Like, I have people all the time like, nobody watches your show. You're irrelevant. I'm like, oh, let me stop because you said that. I'm not going to make another video now.
You're not using the van. You're missing out. Hi, I'm Sarah.
I'm Anita.
And we're part of the...
So this is a little bit of what has been going on. And like I said, I am not going to get too into the weeds about the he said, she said, and accusations and things like that. But this is what has been going on for the past week. And by the way, this has followed a series of attacks against my clips on Instagram and my super chats on the show.
Now, this is what I have a real problem with, and this is my biggest problem with Israeli and the pro-Israel crowd. It's like, you don't like what somebody said. This is America, and we have freedom of speech here. He's not inciting violence in any way because he has a different opinion of the policy than you. You think that you have a right to take away his living, and this is why people despise Benjamin Netanyahu and the whole Israeli lobby. You think that's okay? You think that's right to take away his living? Because he doesn't agree with what the Israeli government's doing to the American government? And you want people to support you? Not going to happen.
So far in the past 2 months, there was a major hit piece by The Atlantic and by Jonathan Greenblatt at the ADL. They're specifically targeting my clips from my show on Instagram and Facebook, trying to get them banned quite successfully. Simultaneously, there was a massive 4,000-word hit piece in the Washington Post attacking my super chats and an associated attack on my super chat.
Can you imagine that you're in the Washington Post complaining about his super chats because you're mad about his viewers giving him money so he can survive? He's an American citizen that has the right to his opinion. And you know what? You think by doing that, oh, we're just all going to support Israel blindly now because you shut down Nick Fuentes. You're playing this game totally wrong. You really don't understand the American public. Oh, you know, this is what Benjamin Netanyahu thinks. This is what Ben Shapiro thinks. This is what Mark Levin thinks. Oh, we'll just cancel everybody. We'll just censor everybody. We'll make laws in every state where you can't criticize us. Look at the girl in Florida. She's facing felony charges for criticizing Israel. You think that helps you? You think that's going to make us stay quiet? Interesting strategy. A very interesting strategy.
Platform by the state-sponsored Canadian Broadcasting Company that actually led to my super chat platform being shut down.
Yeah, all of this together, it's like any other.
You know what that does? Like when I see somebody get treated like this, it makes me like, oh, if I won money, to donate money to them because I know how it feels to get railroaded, and he's entitled to his opinion. It's called the Constitution, the First Amendment. If you don't like it, go live in another country.
Person where this is happening to at a cannabis.
You're talking about, and they go ahead into the never seen that. We're both against. Well, I want to talk specifically about some of what has been said, and specifically with regard to Dan Bilzerian, what exactly happened here. So I don't know why Dan Bilzerian suddenly says I'm a Fed. I've known him for 2 years now.
Should we do a live stream breaking down exactly who Dan Bilzerian is and go through his history?
He's saying that because he thinks that's going to break up your audience and influence. That's why.
So I feel like that would be fun. I have like a list of articles we could go through, breaking down exactly all the stuff to do with his dad, with the murder in St. Kitts, with all the various things to do with the SEC. It's a lot to do with his dad, let's be frank, and the FBI. A lot of seedy stuff. Ignite, that cannabis company that he started or was a part of.
We talk regularly. I've been to his house multiple.
I'm not saying this because he attacked me. I've never been a fan of his at all. He's very Andrew Tate-ish. I think Andrew Tate is the biggest piece of garbage on the entire planet. If you look at all his victims, all the people he preys on, they're all teenage kids. And, he rents, just like yesterday, he rented a mansion and he's prancing around in his bikini by the pool as somebody films him. It's like, what are you, a female? Like the face of masculinity is prancing by the pool in a bikini as somebody films him walking by the pool. Like, what are you, a woman? Because he thinks this will like motivate young people to sign up for his real world garbage. Blizerian, he's similar, but like not the same, the vapes and the parties with the 100 girls and the yachts. Meanwhile, it's probably, who knows if he even owns it. He probably doesn't own it. It's just like there's no substance there at all with the Tates or Blizerian. Never been a fan. Never. So,
times. And I would say that we sort of agree on the broad strokes of the issue. We're both against Trump. We're both against the war in Iran. We're both against AIPAC. We both understand that it's not just Zionists. It's Jewish nationalism, Jewish supremacy. It's Jewishness.
Base 44 super agent is the catalyst for my growth. It's going to take me to the next level.
Which is making these people put America last. Like, we're sort of on the same page in many ways, and yet we've had a falling out that has been in slow motion for the past year.
Because he probably got arrested for something, and now he's working off of beef, and if he could set you up with an attempted you-know-what, whatever he did, he's going to get off. That's why.
Here, roughly. And the first time I met Dan Bilzerian, I said this on Twitter, this was a little bit troubling. The first time I met him, I flew out to Las Vegas. I went to his house. He was very gracious as a host. I go to his house, and the first thing that happens, and this is a little strange, is they make me sign an NDA. I got to give him my driver's license. I got to take a picture of my face. I got to sign a thing. Never.
I mean, that's beyond bizarre. What is it, a mugshot? You got to give your driver's license, take a picture of his face, sign an NDA. Who the F is Dan Bilzerian? Like an OnlyFans pimp? You don't find that odd? Okay. I would have just walked out and be like, no, I'm good, bro. See ya.
Experienced that before. And I've met Ye, and I've met Trump, and I've met a lot of famous people. I've never had that happen before.
Yeah, you have to sign the NDA because one of the girls might slip and be like, yeah, the agency called and told me that I have to go home because they don't want to pay me for being here anymore because it's all an act, just like the Tates, nothing but frauds.
Cameras all over the house, recording audio and video. Never seen that before. So I go, whatever. I go into the house, we talk. He has us put our phones away. He says, we're talking about serious stuff. We're talking about the Jews. It's me, him, Jake Shields, one other guy. He says, let's put our phones in the kitchen over here. We go outside in the patio. Jake Shields and the other guy walk ahead, and this is where I think Jake is confused. And they go ahead into the bouncy pit or the trampoline room or whatever. It's like it's so gauche. I mean, talk about N-word rich.
I mean, Jake Shields, he needed some reading time. Let's be real. He needed to get through Cat in the Hat.
They go ahead into the trampoline room. Dan Bilzerian and I walk outside. He tells me, so how easy do you think it would be, or how hard do you think it would be to kill some of these Israelis? Now, me, I've been in this for a long time. I know what kind of question that is. It's obviously a loaded.
Yeah, that's called, let's send Nick to federal prison if he answers the question. That's the type of question that it is.
Question. I deflected. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. I think that's a terrible idea. I'm not in favor of killing anybody.
I mean, we're Christians over here, bro. To say that we want to go around murdering people, assassinating people, that's not what we're about whatsoever. That's not what this political movement endorses. Not about political violence whatsoever. Unlike a lot of our adversaries, I'll say that much. They can't denounce political violence.
Now, at the time, I thought, this is very suspicious. This is very not good. At the same time, I thought, this is a very extreme guy. He just got red pilled. Maybe he just doesn't know the gravity of what he's saying, whatever.
Maybe he's just an idiot. Maybe he's just absolutely retarded.
No, you're giving him too much credit there. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he knows why he's saying it. So let's be serious.
Now, give the guy the benefit of the doubt because you don't really know him that well. But I mean, that is the most honeypot fed trap
there you go.
question that anyone could ever pose to anybody.
Now you're on the right track.
Buddy. And the guy is on camera saying that he's a sworn law enforcement officer at the 2018 Las Vegas mass shooting. I think it was 2018, where Stephen Paddock gunned down all those people from the MGM window. That Dan Bilzerian was there on the ground, and he presented a badge to a police officer and said, give me a gun so I can get into the fight. And the cop was like, get away from me. I don't know who the hell you are, but that's real. Go watch that clip. Dan Bilzerian literally shows a badge to a
I remember seeing that, and that's why I wanted to let him say that, because I did see that.
Cop.
That was kind of the first red flag. Okay, whatever. We went into the trampoline room. There's bongs everywhere. We're talking about Hitler and whatever. It's fine. Well, then we started to have some hiccups. About a year ago,
a trampoline room? Like, really?
Did a debate with Dinesh D'Souza. We did a debate about the war in Iran. This was Operation Rising Lion and Midnight Hammer when the United States struck Iran's nuclear sites. So I did a debate with Dinesh D'Souza. It was universally acclaimed. Steve Bannon loved it. They wanted to play it on War Room. Everybody loved it. Everybody watched the debate and said it was a masterclass. I clearly won. Every poll on Twitter said I won 90-10, 80-20. Total defeat. Well, then I get Dan Bilzerian's feedback, which was, you should have just blamed everything on it. I said, well, Dan, I did point out that it is orchestrating the war and they control the tempo and they're the driving force behind it. I said, however, we do have to talk about Iran's strategy of nuclear hedging. It is a legitimate argument to say that the United States must enforce non-proliferation of WMDs. I said, we need to make people understand that the only reason Iran wants to acquire a WMD is because it started the arms race by acquiring a nuke first.
And these people that they'll say, although I'm down with destroying Israel, like these people that are, they want America to go to war with Israel. Like, they say all this, verbose stuff about, killing Israelis and stuff, yet they would never actually go on the ground and do it because they know that they would get killed by the IDF, all right?
Oh, yeah. Did you really think BLIZERIAN was like going to go on a roof and get Ben Shapiro? Right. Okay.
Like none of these, that's the thing, is like all this like talk about like, can we like take on it? It's like, you and what army, dude?
He said, yeah, well, I understand why you want to take it easy on him, but you should have just blamed it. You should have just said it's Israel. They're the only ones at fault, just Jews and Israel.
This 79-year cover-up of the truth has to end.
I said, okay. Fast forward a little bit later in the year. I do a big interview with Tucker Carlson. Tucker challenges me about blood guilt and how I'm anti-Semitic and accusing Jews of being responsible for all the problems. I say, Tucker, we cannot divorce neoconservatives and the wars in the Middle East and AIPAC and Israel from Judaism. Israel's the Jewish state. Neocons are Jewish leftists. I said, it's inextricably connected, Jewish nationalism and all the things you talk about. I do an interview with Jack Neal. I do another interview after that. I get another call from Dan Bilzerian. He said, you didn't talk about Jews on any of your interviews.
It's like BLIZERIAN is intentionally trying to make Nick look like he's totally out of his mind, obsessed with Israel, so he'll just lose all credibility, because at a certain point, people just look at it and they're like, oh, here we go again. He's just he's just obsessed with Israel, where like if he stubs his toe, he's blaming the chosen ones. Like, people don't want to, you have no substance when you act like that. You have no credibility when you act like that. Nobody takes you serious if you act the way that Dan Bilzerian wants you to act. Nobody takes you serious.
I said, well, Dan, I said, I did. I said, I did talk about it with Jack. I did talk about it with Tucker. I did talk about it with these other people. It's in there. He said, yeah, but you didn't talk about it enough. You should have spent the whole interview talking about that. I said, Dan, if you want to persuade people, you can't have them thinking that you're the Jew guy. I said,
exactly.
You have to present as well-rounded. I said, and people want a little bit of diversity. They want different topics. They want to see that you're a well-rounded person. You could talk about other things. I said, and when you're going on someone else's platform, you can't always control the questions they're going to ask, the topics they want to cover, and you got to be sensitive. Some people...
Yeah, I mean, he's from Chicago. What if the guy, do you like the Bears? Do you like the Chicago Cubs? And Nick's just like, I'm here to talk about Israel, destroying the world, They're like, it's like Star Wars. They're like Darth Vader, like you would just look at Nick and be like, okay, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. That's what BLIZERIAN wants Nick to act like.
Don't want to be censored. Some people.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you're appearing on some people's channel because they really like you and they want to get you out there. But just, you can't nuke their channel, right? Just because, I want to drop a truke.
Yeah, BLIZERIAN wants Nick to look like he's irrationally obsessed with Israel. So and then people will side with, when somebody comes across like that, you automatically kind of go with the other side because you're like, this person is just totally insane.
About the Jews or whatever. Well, you actually have to be mindful of that you're appearing on somebody else's channel a lot of the time. And, that's just... I think it's just wrong.
It's called a trap. It's called bad advice because BLIZERIAN is not being honest the way he's operating.
Wrong to do something that could get somebody, permanently banned, right? I think anyone would agree with that. That's messed up to do, right? So, of course, like keeping your image very
extreme or violent ways, somehow I'm a disruptor. I'm not a
any rich vocabulary. What Nick brings to the table is, in fact, a lot of knowledge and wisdom with character and personality. It's not just the Jews, the Jews, the Jews. We have Groypers, Nick and the Groypers have a overarching ideology that is much bigger than just the Jews, the Jews, the Jews.
People don't want you to bring it on their platform and get them banned. I said, so, I'm trying to be a little bit tactful. He goes, oh, okay. Well, you need to talk about Jews more, blah, blah. And then we were off to the races after this. Why did you say you like Stalin? Hitler went to war with Stalin to save the Christians from the Jewish communists. Why are you not saying Charlie Kirk was killed by it? He's obviously killed by it. Why are you supporting ICE? ICE is Jewish. Why are you? And it became then a loop of paranoia and suspicion and purity spiraling, which is somehow because I don't dedicate all my time to talking about Jews, I don't blame Jews for literally everything or absolutely everything, or I don't talk about it in the most extreme or violent ways, somehow I'm a disruptor, I'm not a true anti-Semite, or this is a little bit of how it's gone. And finally, it culminated in this argument over Casey Push. Casey Push is running in the primary against Vivek Ramaswamy. He got destroyed. He lost 82 to 18%.
I mean, the guy didn't even run a campaign. Let's be real. Casey Push sat around doing nothing. He sat around twiddling his fingers, all right? And the digital
focused on that one to multiple field direct, extreme or violent, to talk about Jews more, blah, blah. And then we were off to the races after this.
God,
why did you say you like Stalin? Hitler went to war with Stalin to save the Christians from the Jewish communists. Why are you not saying Charlie Kirk was killed by it? He's obviously killed by it. Why are you supporting ICE? ICE is Jewish. Why are you? And it became then a loop of paranoia and suspicion and purity spiraling, which is somehow because I don't dedicate all my time to talking about Jews, I don't blame Jews for literally everything or absolutely everything, or I don't talk about it in the most extreme or violent ways, somehow I'm a disruptor, I'm not a true anti-Semite, or this is a little bit of how it's gone. And finally, it culminated in this argument over Casey Push. Casey Push is running in the primary against Vivek Ramaswamy. He got destroyed. He lost 82 to 18%.
I mean, the guy didn't even run a campaign. Let's be real. Casey Push sat around doing nothing. He sat around twiddling his fingers, all right? In the digital age, all right, a grown man sat around and just didn't even post. He didn't do anything.
And ever since his loss in this Ohio governor's race, all of his personnel have come out on Twitter and said he's a terrible candidate. He's a rageaholic, real anger problems. He turned down opportunities from the White House. He didn't want to do events. He was micromanaging everything. This is multiple field directors, multiple personnel.
If nobody knows who the hell you are, how could you turn down events or the White House?
From the campaign saying he's terrible. And just to tell you, I heard all these things early on. I heard all of this in February. I called up my political director in February that manages these things, and I said, we need to get behind Casey Push. He said, no, it's a no-go. He said, we're talking to their team. They don't have the signatures. They don't know if they're going to be on the ballot. There's all these problems. I said, well, then let's not even bother. I said, if we want to defeat Vivek Ramaswamy, the only way to go, we're not going to overcome Trump's endorsement, Vance's endorsement. Vivek has a 100-to-1 money advantage. I said, we're not going to beat him in the primary. We're just going to need to provide that 1 to 5% in the general. You can't swing the primary because to win the primary, you need 60% of Republicans or 51% of Republicans to revolt in a race where you're outspent and you don't have any of the endorsements, and you don't even have a good candidate.
Oh, and the Goyim are just so raped that you put an Indian guy up there, literally a pharma bro, Silicon Valley tech bro, a scammer, nonetheless, who hates white people. And, you know, these elderly boomers, they just show up in droves to vote for Vivek. You know, yeah, sure, it's hard to understand, but we have to understand it from a political point of view, and that the fact that we aren't really going to be able to change that cohort right there because they're like elderly and, you know, they have the Fox News IV drip, okay?
100 to 1. Whereas in the general, the Democrats are maybe 50-50 against the Republican. We just need to give them a little push over the edge. So I said, we'll just focus on the general. Well, this was my idea going into the Ohio primary. Yeah, you know, Casey Push isn't going to win. That's okay. We're focused on the general.
Make every day feel epic in the all-new Hyundai Palisade Hybrid.
At Terminix, we know your business thrives on positive reviews. And a single roach can drop you to a...
Dan Bilzerian texts me, why didn't you endorse Casey Push? I said, well, he's going to lose. He lost 80-20. I said, what does that do for any of us to just lose? I said, if I'm associated with that, all the liberal media are going to say the Groypers tried to get into politics and they lost. They tried to translate it into electoral success. It didn't happen. I said, so, you know, I couldn't have saved them even if I tried. If I tried, I would have gotten blamed for the loss. I said, so I recused myself. He comes out and says, this guy didn't endorse Casey Push. Clearly, he's acting like a Fed. Days later, Dan Bilzerian says, I don't give an F about an Ohio governor's race. Why would I care? That doesn't matter to me.
And then he followed it up with something that was very mask off. Dan said that, well, I don't even care if my congressional race, he's running against Randy Fine, that he's like, I don't even care if Dan Bilzerian loses. I'm just going to go flee. I'm going to go live in Thailand away. And he said, America, you guys can live in America, which is like going to be like a burning shithole. It's like what he said. So he's going to be in Thailand while everyone else is in burning shithole. That's what he actually thinks of the country that he's running for office in. Ridiculous.
These are some of the conversations that are happening. And this is why I say overall, this really paints a picture for you of really two different kinds of movements here. If you've been watching my show for a long time, you know that we think deeply about geostrategy in the Middle East. We think deeply about why it does what it does, why America does what it does, why Iran does what it does. And we talk about the dynamics between states, and we talk about the strategic angle, about the missiles, the nukes, the regional proxies, the drones, the Strait. We think deeply and talk about these things. And the same goes for party politics. We actually want to make a difference. And so we are looking at races and ways that we can actually win, like where we can focus our energy and resources, where we can make a difference and actually get something tangible, actually get a tangible victory or benefit. And we talk about this all the time.
Yeah, so is it smart to spend all your resources on a gubernatorial primary where you have to change the votes by 60% versus a governor race where between a Republican and a Democrat where you only reasonably need to swing a couple percent of the vote? That makes a lot more sense.
We talk about the different factions. We talk about Little Tech and J.D. Vance and his alliance with Tucker Carlson and their schism with Marco Rubio and his backing in Florida with Susie Wiles and Mike Waltz and all the other Florida creatures and Ballard. We talk about all these things. And what has been happening for the past 2 years is basically a guerrilla who doesn't know anything about politics or government and doesn't even want to know, isn't even interested in learning, hitting his head against the wall saying, it's the Jews, it's the Jews. What's the answer? It's the Jews. How are we going to take over the GOP? It's the Jews.
Super low IQ way to run on anything or just talk in general. Just super low IQ. Doesn't help any situation. Just makes you look like a complete idiot.
How are we going to get America first? It's the Jews. What are your policies, Mr. Congressman? Mr. Representative, what are your policies? It's the Jews. Well, can you name a policy? We're going to help people. What are you going to do about it? Go to war with them.
He literally, when asked in that X space with people that were confronting him, Dan Bilzerian was asked point blank period. And it was crazy. It was like a 12-hour X space, dude. It was ridiculous. And the only time he ever.
Okay.
And the guy is so low IQ. It's a swear word literally every.
All right, you get the point. I played this long enough. Plus, my dog wants to go for a walk. So, I mean, you see what Dan Bilzerian's doing here. He's just trying to pull Nick into this low IQ. You know, Dan Bilzerian wants the public and social media and everybody to look at Nick like he's this low IQ moron that's just, he's just going to blame Israel for everything. And then you lose all credibility. Nobody's going to listen to that. Nobody's going to take your movement serious. And I think it's a coordinated plan by Dan Bilzerian and the rest of these people that got together. They're like, Nick is very hard to get rid of. Like he always survives, or he like always comes through, like no matter how much they try to keep him down. So if we can make him like part of our group, and our group looks totally ridiculous, then we can ruin his reputation and his character at the same time, where people don't pay attention to him anymore. Very, very devious plan. Very devious plan. All right, let me talk about this next. Sean Strickland, he beat KHAMZAT CHIMAEV. I mean, I'm probably definitely saying this wrong. Sean Strickland defeated KHAMZAT CHIMAEV at UFC 328. I think it was a split decision, and no, it was a split decision. A lot of people thought, because when Sean Strickland fought Dricus Duplessis got absolutely destroyed by KHAMZAT. So a lot of people thought that Sean couldn't deal with KHAMZAT's wrestling, and he did. Sean Strickland, his stand-up, he's very difficult to hit. He doesn't look like he would be, but his, that stance that he does, that straight-up stance. And then KHAMZAT, he didn't look good at the scale after the weigh-in. He looked dehydrated. Plus, I didn't like the way he tried to set up his takedowns. He was shooting from like 3 feet away to try to take down Strickland, instead of like tying him up, doing some dirty boxing, and then maybe taking him down. You saw the same thing when Ben Askren tried that with Masvidal. He tried to shoot in from like 3 to 5 feet away, and Masvidal timed it perfectly, hit him with the knee, like the all-time knee in the head. We all remember that. But congratulations to Sean Strickland. It was a great win. Let me move on to Chud the Builder. For anybody that doesn't know, Chud the Builder, he's this, he's a white guy, and he's on social media, and he plays stupid games, you win stupid prizes. They call him, Chud the Builder. He's going around and he's antagonizing a lot of black people by, screaming the N-word and with the hard ER on the end. And he's just, he's just super disrespectful. Well, let me bring up something. Hold on. Hold on. So, he'll go around and, he's intentionally trying to stir people up, and he's saying, well, it's freedom of speech. I can say the N-bomb any way I want. To me, it's just trashy and low IQ. And, eventually he's gonna mess with the wrong person, and it's gonna go bad for him. And this is what I don't understand about the entire situation. It's like, I've had my YouTube channel suspended for 6 months for reused content, where I literally put a song in my face in a video, and they were like, oh, that's reused content, and my channel was turned off. And I see the things that this Chud the Builder is doing, and I'm just like, how is he allowed to stream? How is his channel still on? And sometimes I feel like the powers that be, they want like a racially motivated you-know-what to happen, so then everybody will focus their attention on that. I mean, this guy's totally out of control. And, he's hiding behind free speech. And then when he gets a reaction out of people, he pulls out the you-know-what, or, the cops come, or it's just like, it's a bad look for him. It's a bad look in general. But again, I'm really confused how social media just lets him keep, how is he streaming? How is it possible that he still has a channel? Then a few minutes ago, it's been revealed that Chud the Builder, You know, he N-bombed this and N-bombed that. And here it comes. It has been revealed that a black woman living in Nashville named Lily Venus is going viral for claiming Chud the Builder was a virgin who used to get PEGGED in the you know what by her and then the relationship. But she's also a transvestite. You know, she's a transvestite that works in the sex industry. And Chud is not even denying the relationship, which I find remarkable. But here's my advice to this idiot. Hey, listen, if you really feel that way, you know, if you really feel that way about black people, remember that other clown? There was another guy, I forget his name. He calls himself the Gypsy or something. And him and the black guy were arguing and they got in the boxing ring and they did their thing and they beat the hell out of each other. I would respect him a lot more if he, you know, like NLE Choppa was like saying, we need to get him. Choppa, instead of getting in trouble, Nelly, I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. NLE Choppa is his name. They should just do a celebrity boxing match. Get in the ring, get in the cage, beat the hell out of each other, and move on. You know, again, Chud is hiding behind, the Builder is hiding behind freedom of speech. If anybody knows me on a personal level, you know that like I'm the whole thing where you're just going to be blatantly disrespectful to people all the time and then hide behind your you know what or call the cops or hiding behind freedom of speech. It's just total low IQ. It's super trashy. It's a horrible look for any human being. And this is one thing that I'll say though that I'm kind of confused about. And I've been taking criticism for this. It's like, oh, you're comparing apples to oranges, and I don't think I'm comparing apples to oranges. Tekashi 6ix9ine, who is Mexican, doesn't have an ounce of black blood in him. He's Mexican. He's a deviant. Just total garbage human being. You know, he was in a gang and then he dropped out of the gang and then he told on everybody. He got like 30 to 40 young black men. They all went to prison for like 20 to 40 years. He drops the N-bomb every chance he gets around black people. He still operates in those spaces in LA. When I say space, I mean like gang states that are known for gangs and California, Miami. He's still in New York sometimes. And like, he's just out there operating and dropping N-bombs left and right. And, you know, fine. I'm not defending Chud at all, but Chud didn't get young black men sent to prison for 20 to 40 years. Tekashi 6ix9ine does, and he's dropping this word every chance he gets. And nobody seems to be mad at him. And it's just mind-blowing because Whack 100, you know, I don't know, Whack 100, he's a, you know, into the rap world. He's a gang member / he signs all the rappers. You know, and Tekashi, he was in the Bloods, and Whack 100 he's a Blood gang member also. He's a Pyru. They have different sets. And he's always like, oh, put this on Pyru, put this on Pyru. But then he signs Tekashi 6ix9ine to his record label or he's his manager. And it's just like, yo, can you make this make sense? How can Tekashi 6ix9ine be around you and operate around you and be dropping the N-bomb left and right? And he's, you know, he's Mexican. And I hear this all the time. It's like, oh, Hispanics, they get to use the N-bomb. Really? I guess you haven't been to Georgia then. I guess you haven't been to Louisiana. I guess you haven't been to even certain parts of Florida because there's a lot of black men that I know down there that really that are not going for that, you know, unless you're black. And again, I'm not making excuses for this idiot Chud the Builder, but it just amazes me that somebody like Tekashi 6ix9ine, who has no respect for anybody, no class whatsoever, he's just operating out in the open after, again, in his case, I think he sent like 20 to 40 young black men to prison for like 10 to 30 years apiece, dropping the N-bomb every chance he gets, and nobody even talks about it. You know, I'm going to end it with that. You know, Chud the Builder, you you play stupid games, you're going to win stupid prizes. Eventually, you're going to pull up on the wrong person. You're going to talk the wrong, you know what, to the wrong guy. You're going to pull out, he's going to pull out. It's going to go bad for you. And guess what? 99.9% of the people, black or white, is going to be like, yeah, well, you know what? You asked for it and you got it. And the cops and the detectives and the judges, they're people too. So like when you finally get or when it finally goes bad, they're going to be like, oh, you mean the idiot that kept provoking these situations over and over and over again? You're not going to be able to be able to be the victim in this situation when it finally goes bad for you. And again, my whole point of bringing his name up is this. It's like, when I see that, and when I seen what my channel's literally been suspended for 6 months one time because they said I use reused content because I edited a video and put my face with music in it. No violence, I don't talk about tough guy stuff like that. But meanwhile, Chud the Builder, he's streaming every day. His channel never gets shut down. So it almost makes me believe that the powers that be want a racially motivated you-know-what to happen. So everybody will take their focus off the things that are going on in the world with Israel and Trump and focus on that. And it's just total garbage. Yeah, I'll end it. I'll tell you one more time, Chud. Play stupid games, you're gonna win stupid prizes. If you got a problem with certain people so bad, be a man. Put some boxing gloves on. Get in the cage. Get in the ring. You and Nelly Chopper. I know I'm saying his NLE Chopper. That's his name. He's been calling Chud out. Everybody will tune in to watch it. Do your celebrity boxing. Both of you guys will get a good paycheck, and let bygones be bygones. But this whole thing where I don't see where the camera goes on where it doesn't turn on, but I've seen him multiple times go up to black people that were minding their own business and just start dropping the N-bomb on them and be like, I can say whatever I want. It's just low IQ, complete trash, and complete garbage. That's all it is. So, again, you want to keep playing stupid games, you're going to win a stupid prize. Let me walk my dog. He's been waiting for me for a while. And I'm going to end it with that. And with that being said, thanks for tuning in to Unbreakable with Chris Chamasiros.